You have a certain value impact that you make when you show up at your best. That's your only responsibility. And you don't need to figure out and do all the other things. And you don't have to show up at 100%. That's not the same thing as showing up at your best.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. My new best friend, Alessandra, is here with us. And, this is going to be really cool because have you ever just had a shitty day and you had to go do some stupid presentation and you just didn't feel it and you just want to go back home and go to bed and you did it anyway? How do we find that inner oomph to keep going, to rise above our moods and the crap that's going on and just stay that high achieving woman that we are and to own your space? When you walk in the room, do you own it? How do we do that? And we can do that. And Alessandra is going to help us. But before we get started, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor, come back and jump right in. We'll be right back. Hey, since I rarely have openings in my coaching schedule, I have a new resource out there on my website. It is called the BFF Coaching Network. And I have offered a spot there for any coach that has been on the show to list their coaching. You can go out there, you can listen to their episodes, you can feel a little bit about them, and then choose a coach that will work for you. So LaraJaneLayton.com, the BFF Coaching Network. All right, information about you, Alessandra, is in the show notes. So help me show up on those crazy, I don't want to be here days.
Well, first of all, hi.
Hi.
To be here.
I am so happy to have you here too.
Can
Yes.
I tell you a quick story?
Absolutely.
Just a context for why I love talking about this. So back last fall, there was a morning where I woke up and I probably didn't sleep very well because I'm a perimenopausal woman and my sleep is hit or miss. I sleep through the night. The quality is terrible. And I think I either got the water bill the night before or that morning, and I happened to wake up early enough that I went outside and it was like a geyser in my yard, just water going. And I thought, oh, this is why my water bill's double. So I had to run out, turn off the water main, fix the water pipe that had been eaten by rodents of some kind, turn the water main back on, get my family ready for breakfast. Probably argued about something with my kids. I have teenagers, a 13 and a 16-year-old. Probably argued about something with my husband because it was just one of those days. And I walked into my office and I was supposed to start my day with a meeting with my clients. And I didn't just going. So I knew I felt kind of crummy, but I didn't realize how poorly I was doing. But we start all our coaching calls with a moment of just checking in. And normally I lead the check-in because for me, for most of the people I work with, we hit the ground running first thing in the morning and we never slow down. And then we wonder why at the end of the day, we're wired, we're tired, we don't feel like we've done anything for ourselves. We struggle to fall back asleep, but it's because we never slow down. It's not good for us as humans. It's terrible for us as leaders. But on this particular day, I asked my program manager to run it because I could just feel I was just too wired myself. And she's an expert in mindfulness. She does this thing and we're all closing our eyes on this call and I just start to cry. I'm like, I use humor all the time. So, things turn on and these are like high-powered women. They are impressive. I'm supposed to have it all together. I don't pretend I do, but it is still their impression of me at times. And I tell them, my face is leaking. And I look and I said, listen, I had a topic for today. We could talk about that. Or we could talk about what it takes to lead with power and poise when you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Just come by Alexander's book the weekend before while cleaning up some things. And I gave the women this, and they like all but one was like, yes, let's talk about that. And I wanted to share that story because I want to put a context between having a crummy day. I think all of us are smart enough. You and I are friends, right? We're smart enough and capable and driven enough that if we're just having a crummy day, we can push through. And I actually believe that's a mistake to push through sometimes. I think sometimes we need to just step back and go, I'm having a crummy day. I am going to function at 60% instead of trying to function at 100. But those terrible, horrible days, and especially the further we move along for those, I'm 47, I hit perimenopause. I started at 44. I know women who have been in menopause for 8, 9, 10 years, right? So when you have hormones then adding themselves to life and the responsibilities we have and caretaking for everybody and just having to be on and right, those terrible, horrible days can come in with very little for us to like, there's things that you can solve. I don't know if you do. I'm on hormones, but I can't shift my hormonal balance like just using will or behaviors.
Me either.
So I wanted to put that as a context because those are the days I know I would have in the past, in my past career. Those are the days I think a lot of women just think they need to push through, but then they push through and they're feeling a lot of guilt and shame and frustration and fear about like not looking like they have it all together. And so we like there's this constant clashing of like wanting to isolate and then having to do your job and then not feeling like you can talk properly or deal with difficult things because you're on the verge of rage or tears or just like not your brain isn't working. And we push through. I think that's a mistake.
That's so smart because we do. We think that everything else is way more important. And this little tiny bad day, I feel like crying is no big deal. I'll just shove it down and hide it and keep going. But we're not being true to ourselves when we do that. We're not acknowledging that, hey, Lara Jane needs a moment right now. And I love the way you gave the opportunity to talk about it. It's like, hey, it's so much easier to talk about when you're in the middle of it. Because when I'm not, it is out of mind. It is, I'm on my journey. But when you're right there, it makes a lot of sense to tune in and feel it.
Mhm. In my previous career, I was a clinical psychologist. I'm not anymore. But one of my areas of specialty was anxiety. And a lot of times I would say the people who walked into my office, the women, just the humans who walked into my office, usually it's because they had been dealing with whatever stress they'd been dealing with for years. And they were all high achievers. And so they
Yes.
push and persist and push and persist and push and persist. And because they're super resilient, they could do that for a period of time. And then they'd break. And breaking is very different than having a bad day. Breaking is when like your neurochemistry goes off kilter when you throw yourself in a state where you start believing the negative things that sometimes pop in your head, and those things then start popping into your head all the time, every day, and they become your reality. And pulling yourself out of that place is so much more painful and arduous than simply learning how to recognize and respond as opposed to react, to respond to what we have in our day. You and I, before we started talking, talked about who we were, who we'd like to serve, right? Who we're here for, who we're showing up for. And the folks we're showing up for, it's us, maybe us sometimes today, and certainly us at different points, but we're women who get shit done
Yes, we are.
for everyone and very rarely for ourselves. And the default mode of operation is move forward, persist, move forward, persist. You've got this. You figured this out. So if we're talking about, okay, when you think you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, or just even a crummy day, what's step one to be able to manage? The first and most important, this is Dr. Wall says on this one, like, hey, I have to put it there. I'm just saying, like, this is not just an opinion. It's not just nice. Like, science backs this. You got to stop. I call this mastering the pause or the power of the pause with my clients. But it is about learning that there is more power, more authority, more impact, greater leadership, and certainly better self care in learning how to stop, slow down, and check in than there is in pushing forward. So we see this in conversations when you're feeling really nervous. If you learn to slow down, to create pauses, sometimes immediately you command authority in a room, and it gives you time to think, and it gives this air of calm. If you do the same thing in your life, what the reason I start my client calls with check-ins is because these women don't stop. Sometimes if I'm not being disciplined, sometimes it's the first time I do it. If I'm disciplined, I start every morning with a pause. And this is the other thing I'd recommend. Instead of waiting to figure out that you're having a terrible day, building in a simple habit. At some point, maybe if you're physically commuting to work, right before you get out of your car, like put a timer on 2 minutes, nothing more, and just close your eyes for a second and breathe in and out and notice where in your body you're carrying tension. Not if you are, where. And as you breathe out, just focus on that one part of your body. It can be your chest, your throat, whatever, your head, your hands. As you breathe out, just try to let those muscles relax. And then as you breathe out, ask yourself, what's going on? Not why. Why is a terrible question. What is going on right now that I'm feeling this way? Oh my goodness, I've got this meeting with this client. I can't stand them. They're so demanding. Oh, I have to walk in. And I know I had one of my clients who's about to have to lay off 2/3 of her team. I have to go through layoffs. And these are people she really, like, she's so good. She just cares so deeply. What we were working on, knowing that this is coming, is how she can do it without breaking down because she's so upset over having to do this. Right? So it's like looking at what is going on that I'm in this state and what can I do right now to either address the problem or calm my body down. People want all kinds of fancy strategies and fancy complicated things to pull themselves out. That pause, that moment to acknowledge what's going on, most important thing you can do, because that's going to set you up to decide what kind of response you want to enact as opposed to just reacting to what's going on in your life.
I love the pause. And, sometimes for some reason, everybody, but for me, I work so hard to hide on my flaws. I don't want you to know that I'm not perfect. I don't want you to know. So I just drive through. And if I say, oh, I'm having a bad day today. Oh no, now everybody knows I'm not perfect. And so we have that fight of, I want to look good. And then I want to be authentic. I want to be able to show up how I am and not feel shame. If I'm feeling low energy, I want to be able to say, I'm not ashamed of this, but I'm low energy today. And be okay with not being ready to dive in the water every second. You get up on that high dive and you look down and you don't have to act ready. You don't have to jump right now. You can experience the moment. And in our daily lives, we forget to experience the moment. It's like, oh, this is just a moment. Let's get going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And it's like, what's the moment? And I loved when you talked about slow down. And you didn't just slow down, you lowered your volume. And have you ever noticed that when you whisper, people pay attention? It's not when you're screaming, people go, I don't want anything to do with you. But the second you just calm that, everybody's like, what is she talking about? She's telling secrets. And it catches such an attention that why not embrace that soft, beautiful power that you have?
I don't know, ADD, ADHD. I was a loud and boisterous child. I had to be reminded a lot to chill and to calm down and to quiet. I used to jump over the line, not just step over it with jokes, with humor. I like just kind of get like a freight train. You get going and you're like, "Ooh." So I have that big energy in general. And it is how I show up in a lot of places. But learning to slow down, and you're right. I love that you noticed this, Laura Jane. I did. I didn't just say the word slow down. I literally slowed down the pace of my speech. I brought my voice down. I just did a talk this Monday, and we were talking about presence and communication around authority. And I was explaining this to the audience. I said, when I was a psychologist, first of all, really great communication is it's emotional, but that's because it reflects our internal states and it creates an external state. If I had somebody walk into my office who was having a panic attack, you bet that I was going to slow down and say, well, let's sit down, take a minute, tell me what's going on. It's my 3 a.m. DJ voice, right?
Mhm.
And we're going to breathe. And I know you're pissed and you think you can't breathe, but I just want you to focus on breathing out. I just like, if I have somebody who's coming in and it's their first time or they're really anxious or something, the pace of my speech is going to go up. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's happening today? Let's talk about this. And this is probably my normal pace of speech. There's a reason all my audiobooks are listened to 1.8 2x speed so that the book can match the speed of the voice in my head. So when you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, it's really important when we're talking about this pause, and it's like the most critical thing. When I teach this to people, I say the most important thing is you got to realize you're having one of those days. The only way you can realize you're having one of those days before it blows up in your face is if you create strategies to slow down. Thus, instead of waiting to have a bad day to pause, this is super easy. You don't need to be a yogi. I can't do meditation to save my life. I do every morning. And every morning, the greatest relief comes when the guy on my Headspace app goes, and now we're done. And I can feel my brain go, oh, thank goodness. And that's when I relax the most. But I do that. I force myself to do that. I force myself to start with 5 breaths. I force myself to create a minimum of 2 minutes to check in so that I can assess where I'm at emotionally, physically, mentally, which allows me then to address that state. So respond versus react. And you don't need something fancy to do that. Literally sit in your car, stand there, breathe in and out. How am I going? If you're like me and you commute from your house into your home office, then I do it when I stand at my desk. And it's the first thing I do. I close my eyes. I'm like, what am I feeling? What's going on? In the beginning, I use an alarm, a reminder, because it's not a habit. The days I forget to do this are so much worse. I'm more scattered. I'm less focused. I'm less productive. I end the day going, oh, there were all these things I wanted to get done because I moved in reactively. Usually those are days I jump on a call immediately or jump into my inbox immediately. But the other thing about creating this pause is once you create that moment to pause, it's shifting the voice in your head so that you are talking to yourself like this.
Mm.
Where you
Smart.
slow everything down. If you are commuting or if you're walking, notice at what pace you're walking. That's something else I used to do. I still do with my clients right now, but I used to is I'd take people walking and I'm like, we're going to walk really slowly and use physical motion to ground the mind, to ground their state of mind. So when you're having a terrible day, one, you got to figure out you're having a terrible day. And the only way you're going to do that before it blows up in your face or you end up crying on a call like me. And I'm the opposite of you, by the way. Like I've learned that instead of hiding all of my imperfections, it's been easier for me to manage with the anxiety of having them by I just broadcast them. I'm like, this is who I am. And actually, that has given me more credibility, more authority in many ways because I don't say, this is who I am. I'm a mess. Take care of me. I'm like, this is who I am. I got it. I get it. And then can we move on with this? And a little bit like that call. But we have to figure out we're in whatever state. And then we just have to slow down and check in with ourselves. And the third thing I would say, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is there's a decision to be made. And the decision is, can I do something about this mood state I'm in where I can bring it down to a reasonable level and I can operate as usual? Or am I really truly having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day? Because if I'm really having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I probably shouldn't be expecting myself to operate, respond, and show up as if I were having a regular day.
It is being true to yourself. It is allowing yourself to be you. And that is so much more freeing. And I love the idea of up till now, my day has been horrible, blah, blah, blah. But I know I have the power to change that. And it is through that pause. It is through taking that moment. It is that breath. And, when you feel like you're going to jump down someone's throat, 3 more breaths. Just, choose your words. Don't just spit them out. And I love that we can even do that to us. It doesn't have to be external people, but I'm going to choose that this isn't a bad day. I'm experiencing some craziness, but, I have power over this, and I can do either direction if I let it. And I think it's easier when we let go than we try to power through and manipulate and force.
I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question. I know it's rhetorical. Um, you ever have one of those days where you're arguing with somebody or you're pushing back, and in your head, you're like, I know I'm being completely unreasonable, but I just can't. Like, I just can't let go. But you can hear yourself and you're like, you are being so unreasonable.
That's when I get in those power struggles and I have to step back and go, I don't want to be more powerful than you. I just want to be influential.
Right? So to me, I think we realize this at home. At home, I have no trouble. I've learned to tell my spouse, to tell my kids, listen, I'm just having one of those days and I am barely holding on, right? Like I am walking internally filled with rage right now. And I'm doing my best because I realize, let's just say it's hormonal. I can't do anything about it. You're not the origin of it. I'm going to ask you not to push my buttons today. You need to give me some breath. And that is me putting out into the world, recognizing maybe in that moment, usually it's not a full day, right? It's a few hours, but I am one annoying comment away from either crying or screaming. And I can try to manage it all on my own, which is what we do as women. What we do as caretakers is what we do as impact driven. We want to manage all of it. Or I can bring other people in to help me. And because I spent a lot of time educating my kids about this, it doesn't get thrown back at my face later. Part of it is I have teenagers. Do you know how beautiful it is to go through perimenopause at the same time you have teenagers? Because suddenly when they look at you, you can look at them and go, oh, we are both having a hormonal day today. So I get that you're really grumpy and you're complaining about everything or you're trying to bite my head off and that is hormonally driven. And I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway. But I want you to remember this when I have one of those days, right? So we have this talk about being able to, even though I have all boys, really being able to connect around understanding the difference between the character of a human, the biology of a moment, or the situational factors of a moment. What we tend not to do is do that same thing in our professional lives. I do this whole training around this, right, where I talk to my clients about it. And I'm like, okay, I need you to find your consigliere, right? Going back to that Italian, like your point person. It has to be, if you ever watch any of the old mob movies, the consigliere is, the word in French is conseiller. I grew up in France of Italian descent, so both words speak to me, but partner, your counselor, your advisor, it is somebody, it's your right-hand person. And all of us have a right-hand person. Maybe they're literally our right-hand person. Maybe they're a peer, a colleague we work with. Maybe they're our favorite admin in our office. You know, the one who actually has all the power and gets all the things because they know everybody and they hold all the keys. And it's about having these conversations with that person long before you have a terrible day or they have a terrible day and say, if and when this moment happens and I feel I can't handle it, I'm going to come to you to help be my functioning brain for a second. And or because I have full trust in you, if you catch me one day in a state where you're like, Alessandra, you're not firing on all cylinders, I am giving you the responsibility to call me out and therefore the permission. Because I might not be seeing something. I might be in that go, 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 go mode. And I can't tell that this is happening, right? That calling out needs to, of course, be done privately. There are a lot of things, but it's about, again, not thinking that we have to shoulder everything together, that we have to be perfect in order to have value. I call that the Wonder Woman concept. I have to be everything to everybody at all times in order to have value. I'm like, oh, you don't. Like, those people are the worst, right? Like, they're terrible. You have a certain value impact that you make when you show up at your best. That's your only responsibility. And you don't need to figure out and do all the other things. And you don't have to show up at 100%. That's not the same thing as showing up at your best. So to have that point person so that when I'm having a terrible day, I can go to them and say, I think I'm having a terrible day. Ideally, it's actually not your front desk admin person. It is somebody who's near enough to you that, let's say you have a really important meeting you need to attend or a conversation and you realize not in the headspace to lead this, you can tap that person to lead for you. That power of being a true leader, which means knowing when it's time to step down and let somebody else lead in your stead, helping set them up, that is so powerful. And the freedom of that when you're having a terrible day, Laura Jane, oh my goodness. The freedom of going, I don't have to do it all. I can tap out, even if that means I have to take a mental health day or something and go, I'm going to go home, right? Like your world should not fall apart just because you can't be there all the time. And if it is going to fall apart, then you need to reconstruct your world.
And if you do fall apart, it's okay. It's like, it's okay. This is what happens. This is life. And it's through these that we get to rebuild and grow and be stronger. And so, we take so many things shamefully.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm just not good enough. And you just kind of sheepish and you kind of hide. And I love that you said you own it. There are certain things of my weaknesses that it was just own it or else. There's others that's like, maybe I can hide this. But my spelling is awful. I don't spell, and I'm using all the words I tell people not to use, but it's the example. And I had a CFO that I worked with all the time, and she'd go like, you're killing me. And I go, I'll get it fixed. Because you're taking notes in front of everybody and they're watching you, and you're like, it will be okay when it goes out. And she's like, you're killing me. And I go, I know. But what is the alternative? And so, own it and be okay with making the mistake in front of somebody and moving through. And yeah, when you did that pause and that slowdown, it's like, it was so powerful. And I keep feeling that is give ourselves that option, because it was just, you're in this fight, 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 fight. And all of a sudden it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to
listening to this,
yeah.
as you're, even if you're driving, you can do this. Don't close your eyes though if you're driving. Take a minute and just breathe out. And notice if you just breathe out, how like there's this tingling in the scalp and the back of the neck, and your shoulders kind of sag, and you didn't even realize you were holding your gut together. And then like your legs start relaxing. And it's just remembering to breathe. When in doubt, you could go back to people I've worked with from the time they were kids to a woman I did a coaching session with yesterday. And if you started with fill in the blank, Alessandra says, when in doubt, they would go breathe. It is the first step. When in doubt, breathe. And I just mean breathe out because breathing in is reflexive. But that idea of not just a big sigh, but this like, and then breathing out through your nose, immediately you realize that tension. And that's a starting point. It is a starting point at the pause. You're in a meeting with somebody, you're feeling really nervous, or you're trying to get a point across and they're not getting it. One of my clients is, we talk, she's like a C-level compliance person, senior, super senior, both in terms of the amount of years she's worked, but where she is in a company. And she's like, oh, why do I have to repeat myself 7 times for people to listen to me? But also, she's like the most intelligent woman and person in the room. Sometimes I think she's 10 steps ahead where other people are. To her, this is what she's talking about is common sense. But the folks in the room, they're just trying to catch up with where she's at. They're not even seeing what she's seeing. And so when she gets frustrated, I'm like, breathe. And realize, like, if you're getting really frustrated, something's getting lost in translation. So you can go back. Because the breathing is the beginning of the pause. The pause is the beginning of the opportunity to respond versus react and go, hey, I'm finding myself, I did this as a therapist all the time. I'm finding myself having a reaction. Now, as a coach, as a consultant in those roles, I don't have to be so cautious with my words. So I'll actually put the true emotion. I find myself feeling really frustrated in this conversation. That's telling me something's getting lost in translation. Let's take 3 steps back. Help me understand. What are you hearing me say? Don't just repeat the words. Like in your own words, what are you hearing me say? Oh, I see where the disconnect is. Can I try starting again? Can I try re-explaining this the right way? Maybe they're just morons and they should get it, but that's not how we get across to people, right? And if you're lucky enough to be the most intelligent person in the room, just realize like other people aren't necessarily there. That doesn't make them truly morons. It's just this like, take ownership, right? You have not adjusted your communication to the person who's standing there with you. I love in all of these things, this idea of pausing, because to me, that is when I started what I do now, when I moved out of being a therapist, I used to work with professional women as a whole and tended to work with more junior people. And that's a lot of skill teaching, skills and strategies. The more senior the women I work with, the less they need these skills and strategies. They've got it. The more they need the mindset. The more what they need is this idea of mastering the pause. To me, it's become so clear in all its ways. And it's like just teaching them, you just need to slow down. There's so many opportunities. Just pause, slow down. You'll lead better. Pause, slow down. You'll be a better mom. Pause, slow down. You'll be a better spouse. Pause, slow down. You'll be a better daughter. I just visited my mother, who's 85, in France, and she's hard of hearing. And I forget, like, if she doesn't have what she likes to call her earrings, but if she doesn't have her hearing aids in, she literally can't hear me. Now, this is great because I can move around her apartment at night. I know I won't wake her up the 15 times I go to the bathroom. But I get really frustrated. And I came up to her at some point, and I don't know that people will see the screen, but I grabbed her face and I go, I have to remember, this was me pausing, I grab her face, I go, I have to remember that you are 85. I have to remember she looks very young. She looks at least 10 years younger. People are always blown away that she's her age. And I go, I have to remember that you are older than you look and much older than you were when I left the house 30 years ago. I'm like, I love you. And I'm going to try to be more patient. I can't make that promise, right? But those are all different forms of a pause.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I really wanted to do was shake her and go, I've repeated this 50 times. But I didn't. It was a very gentle, like just holding her face and going, which is super soft. You know how when people get old, their face gets their skin gets super soft? And it's going. And it wasn't you, it's me. I have to remember to adjust my communication, to adjust my attitude, because it makes my life easier. So I'm not just doing it for you, I'm doing it for me.
We do it for us too. And, you're talking about people not understanding and you're repeating and repeating. And, people are like, I just said, and it's like, what? You might have said it, but they didn't understand. And so it's okay to repeat and it's okay to say, I live and breathe this every day. Ask me the questions. It's okay. Open it up. Allow people to question and dig in, because at the end of the meeting, there's going to be so much more understanding because you let it happen instead of they're not getting it. They're not getting it. Why are they not getting it? And how do I change that? Because I'm the one sharing the information. It is my responsibility to make sure you understand, not that I just spit out the words. So I really liked that point that you talked about. And, when we always go, I breathe all the time. And it's like, I want you to do a conscious breath. Feel it. It's like, do you feel it in your nose? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your diaphragm? What's that conscious part of it? And if you can just think, what do I feel? That gets you out of that react because you're now refocused on something else and you can respond.
It comes back to what I was saying earlier, what we were saying earlier. People want all kinds of fancy things. They want pills and systems and apps, and I'm like, those exist. Really, I know we've all been told take 10 breaths from the time we were kids. I have been too. The difference is I was so fortunate to be trained in what it means to take a breath and then to be really frustrated by people who are making it super complicated. Also, I have the skeptic's mind. So anytime I'm working with people, I'm like, okay, this person is internally rolling their eyes at me. I'm like, yeah, Alessandra. So I was always thinking about how do I make this as simple, as impactful as possible, and how do I connect like the biology of it. So when I used to teach deep breathing, I would explain to people, here's what happens. Like if you can actually activate that diaphragm thing, like where you breathe and your belly goes out, but when you breathe in, it goes in, it hits this nerve, and this nerve, it sends a signal in your brain, and then it dumps dopamine and serotonin and neuropeptides. And you know what happens when that happens? You calm down. Like those neuropeptides help your body calm down. That's what's happening. It's not like the Zen thing. It's this biological process. Same thing many years ago when my kids were very small and I had 2 businesses. I was trying to start a business and then I just couldn't meditate. I wanted to, but I couldn't stop. I realized like it was terrible. Like I would take the oldest one to preschool, and on days I wasn't in my therapy office, I would come home and I'd be working on my coaching business and I'd be taking care of the little one. And the second he'd go down to sleep, I would start working on my business with the monitor. And the second he'd wake up and then I'd make dinner and it was just like, this is ridiculous. I have to be able to slow down. So I hired a friend to teach me how to meditate. She worked with me for months, taught me like 7 or 8 different types of meditation. I'm like, I've got an ADHD brain. Like my brain just doesn't shut up. This does not work for me. So I said, I am going to sit, channel my inner Italian. I'm going to take my afternoon espresso. I'm going to sit 5 minutes. And it was excruciating in the beginning. So when I say take a pause, I realize I'm asking for something so small and yet something so big for most of us. Because I've got meetings, I've got emails, I need to get to it. Like things are happening. I know I'm going to get in. It's a full day. I need to get back. I need to make sure that today I get back in time to drive my kid to volleyball and then get the other one to soccer and make sure at the same time I try to cram getting into the gym.
I had to breathe for you. That was a lot.
2 minutes. It's nothing. It's like heating your coffee or your tea in the microwave and just using that time to go, oh, I'm just going to breathe out and notice where in my body I'm carrying tension. Oh my goodness. Like I feel like crying. I'm way more wound up. What's going on? I didn't sleep well. This thing is happening. I feel like work is overwhelming. This client just yelled at me. This, you know, my CEO keeps on doing things that has me worried that there are gonna be layoffs and I'm the primary caretaker of my family, whatever it is, like, okay, what do I wanna do with this? Like, do I need to adjust how I'm gonna show up in my workday? Do I need to call some other parent to say, "Can you drive this kid to volleyball? Can we like, I can pick them up, you can drop them off. Is there any like, what do I need to do so that this doesn't blow up in my face? I don't make a mistake. I don't and you can come back from mistakes if you make a mistake, but it's even better if we don't make them. Like the big mistakes, I don't yell at somebody. I don't send in a financial document that's missing a big number, has a minus where there shouldn't be one, and freak out everybody at the office that we're in a deficit, whatever it is. This, I love that you said we've been told to do this because we have, and you, friend listening, I want you to know I understand it sounds stupidly simple and maybe like things you've heard again and again. I promise you could totally hunt me down if it doesn't work. It is the most important and most effective and nearly magical, but it's not magical, it's just science thing that you can do when you're having a bad day, a bad moment, or when you're having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. To take care of yourself and in taking care of yourself to make sure that you can be there for everyone else.
That is so beautifully said. It is. Take the moment. How beautiful. And it might take 4 or 5 tries. That's okay. You could still have a terrible day all day. It's okay. Being okay with where you're at, I think, is the first lock that allows you to unlock the rest of the locks. You could unlock all the meditation. You could unlock all the breathing. You can unlock, but until you're okay with where you're at right now, the rest of those things don't matter because life changes. We are on the roller coaster ride and it's fun. We get to experience the highs and the lows, the fast, the slow, and you don't get on it for the end. How boring would it be to get on the roller coaster? It'd be like going on the merry-go-round. Go around once, okay, we're done. And no, that's not the life I want. I want to have fun. And the fun includes the ups and the downs. And so when we can say, it's okay, it just is. It's what it is right now for me. And I'm learning and growing and experiencing the life I'm supposed to experience. That is the key that helped me. Now, those words may need to change for you or for our friend, but it's okay. So it's been so beautiful having you here with us, Alessandra. It's your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. Ah, like you have given us so many tidbits. Let's share a little bit more about you, how to get a hold of you. I know it's in the show notes, but let's share it. And then what's that one thing we should try this week? I know you've thought thousands of them. Let's narrow it down to one because I don't have time to write them all down. And what am I going to try this week?
Okay. So the best way to reach me, there are 2 places. One is on LinkedIn. I like posting there. I like hanging out there because that's usually where you hang out, right? So,
Yep.
and then I have a website. I need to update it, I'll be honest, but it's noteworthyinc.co. That's not a mistake. Although these days I think you can even type .com and it goes to the right place. I feel like I've shared the thing. I could give 1,000 things, but I really, really believe it. If there's one thing you want to practice, my clients will say, like, it is life-changing for them. And it was life-changing for me. Start trying to practice the power of the pause, whether that's pausing when you speak, whether it's taking that moment in your car before you open the door and walk into the office, or when you first walk into your office, before you check email, before you talk to anybody, to just close your eyes, breathe out, breathe in a little bit. And as you breathe out, notice where you're carrying that tension. I promise you, it shifts everything because it gets you out of the reactive into the responsive mood. And you will find slowly. You don't just do it first thing in the morning. You do it when you go to the bathroom. I mean, I would joke with people. They'd be like, I don't have time. I'm like, do you take your phone to the bathroom? Leave your phone at your desk. You do not need to multitask in the bathroom. Breathe. Breathe as you're washing your hands. Breathe as you stop and take that pause while you're microwaving lunch or anything. But instead of just moving, just stop, pause, check in. It's incredible. It will make all the difference. Better leader, better human, better mental health, better physical health, better parent, better lover, better partner, better child, better friend, better you.
So I need to always be a better me because I'm growing and learning, and it will be better. It's wonderful. And the power of the pause is so important that I love that that's what we're going to work on this week is just learning to pause. And I've always said, you don't have to find new time for it. What is it in your day that you can add it? You're showering. You're waiting for the water to get warm. Pause. You're brushing your teeth. Pause. There's so many things that we do that you can add it. And it's not like you're carving out all this time you don't have. You're taking advantage of time. So
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has
Thank you.
been my pleasure, and I am so looking forward to the pause. I'm going to go do it right after this. So, friend Alessandra and I are not currently licensed medical or mental professionals. We're here for entertainment. But if we've been down that road, I'm going to help you get to your goal and a little bit smoother. So thank you for joining. Have a great day and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.